Well, as you were speaking, I figured out your price prediction based on your prediction of how big the asset class will get. So you gave me enough time to ask AI to do the math for me. And it says if Bitcoin has a 40% market dominance, the market cap of Bitcoin will be roughly 40 trillion. If there are approximately 19 million Bitcoins mined, the price would be around 2.1 million per Bitcoin. At a 50% dominance, the price per Bitcoin would be 2.6 million per Bitcoin. Today, as we sit here, the price of Bitcoin is $62,000. So if your prediction that the asset class gets to 100 trillion, and if Ethereum is 15% of that, then each Ethereum will be worth $125,000 per Ethereum. And today it's worth about $2,400.
Okay, so then what I do when I'm faced with something like this, when I first bought Bitcoin, I wrote the first ever, we'd have all been given shares in Facebook when it started. We'd have all been hilariously rich. But we didn't. The VCs got it, and then it went to the public market, and then you have to have a brokerage account, you have to be approved, right? What this is happening, you buy an Ethereum token today, if Ethereum ends up becoming bigger and more uses, your token value goes up. It's as simple as that. So you get to participate in an entire technological revolution really simply from your mobile phone. And you don't need anybody, and you won't be disappointed, because remember, the very beginning of our conversation is what makes people unhappy is when their vision of their future self and their current state don't meet. Now, if your vision of your future self is, remember I said, I want that peninsula in Spain where that family. So what are the component parts there? I like sea, I like social life of people, I like natural beauty, and with somebody I love. Okay, that can be solved 100 different ways.
But in your life, did you have to shift from the building zone, the building season of life, to then the kind of enjoyment season of life?
I did in the middle, which was the lesson I learned, is I had done the investment banking and the hedge fund thing. If there is a true currency in the world, it's experiences. You know, as I said, I've just come back from living in the remote wild of Zambia. That is an experience that is incredibly valuable to me. And I've done a lot of these. That is what it's all for. This understanding and seeing of how the world is and the beauty and the marvel, the people, understanding people and not being fearful of people and not thinking about cultures except in terms of, oh, that's their culture and that's their culture, as opposed to culture good, culture bad. Friends, yeah, all of these things, these are the valuable things. You can't buy any of them. You have to physically go and spend the time and be uncomfortable. I've always said there is your comfort zone and where the magic happens. And unless something says that Ethereum usage is falling off a cliff and developers are leaving entirely, then don't worry about it, right? You're going to be directionally very right. Will you capture the best returns? No, nor will I. Some other rando will get, by luck, something right. But the average person, so I have this thesis that I've tried to help as many people with, this is from my own learnings and watching everybody else fuck it up, is what happens is you're given this incredible asset class, and at first you do an intelligent thing like own some Bitcoin with me. And then you want to go out the risk curve because you see somebody else making more money, you understand you can. That's okay. And then the bull market really hits, the banana zone period, when things go bananas, prices go vertical. And you will see people online say, well, I made $1 million today because I bought this meme coin. And you will lose your mind and you will start buying all the stupid shit. But just keep it simple, stupid.
Is this why men are so drawn to this? I was thinking about the gambling statistics, and it's like something like 95 or 98% of gambling addicts are men. And I was thinking, how does this overlap with like their sense of purpose, community?
Much a deeper question. I think men feel hugely under pressure to be successful, to provide. There's a societal thing about what a man does, what he should do, and how you measure success. That even in sports, it's very competitive to be a man, but it's also somewhat of a lonely pursuit in that respect, because men aren't very good at talking about their feelings and their fears and all the bullshit you bring in your head. So some gambling, because the best thing I can say to people is, listen, 2032, 2034, that is not long away, 10 years. This asset class can go from 2 trillion to 100 trillion. Right? That is a huge return. Now, some of the coins in that space will do a multiple of that. That simple thesis is why I built Expand, the asset management company, Exponential Age, was just to capture this trend, to let, well, unfortunately it's only for high net worth investors and institutional investors, but just let them go on that journey, get the hedge funds to take the risk and figure it out and do that. But if people just do that, give me 10 years, just give me 10 years. And if you do it 10 years and you're sensible, you'll be able, I'm like, holy shit, there were only 2 assets in the world that outperformed this. Technology, crypto. The NASDAQ was doing 18% a year, and crypto was doing 150 plus. You know, Solana's done 250% a year, even with 3 80% drawdowns. So this is what got me to change my entire investing game from being a broad-based investor with, you know, a balanced portfolio to, okay, there's only 2 bets in the world. There are literally 2 bets in the world, technology and crypto. And the NASDAQ is down 99.97% versus Bitcoin since 2012.
How much of your personal money do you invest in crypto?
100% of my liquid net worth. And it has been 5 years.
Have you done well?
Yeah.
Raoul, you said that the best trade is always quality of life.
Yes.
If your account is full of quality of life and quality of life experiences, that's the greatest trade on earth. And I'll continue to do that trade until the day that I die. What do you mean?
What is the purpose of life? Now, we can get very existential about stuff, and you actually go down these paths a lot with AI and universal consciousness and a lot of other stuff. But basically, let's just assume we're humans. Let's just assume maybe we've got one shot on this earth. Well, you might as well make the best of it. And people have got to remember, money is just a scoring system that allows you privileges. And people lose track of that and think money is the privilege itself.
So I am 30 years old-ish.
Yeah.
I like to hang on to 30 for as long as I can. What advice would you give to someone like me that's my age, or maybe even younger, you know, mid-20s, as to how to play the game over the coming years to make sure that I don't find myself in a position where I'm having to work 2 jobs, I'm poor, I don't have assets, I don't have anything to show for it? Like if you take it right back to being like maybe, let's say a 20-year-old, a 25-year-old, how'd you play the game? And when I think about this, I'm thinking like wealth creation, how to then preserve my wealth. Like what's the game?
So the first part of the game is income.
Okay.
Without income, you don't have the cash to do the other things, to invest or to look for opportunities. But it's offered us opportunities, whether it's investing in technology, investing in crypto, that gives us much higher returns, stupidly higher returns in shorter periods of time. Okay, that's magic. That's magic for young people. Maybe too risky for their parents, but if you're young and you can take some risk, okay, here's your chance. So now you can build a business, use some excess savings, put them in investments, and just want to be around people who also did it. And by chance, I ended up building a house in the Cayman Islands because it was one of my dreams. I wanted a house on a tropical beach. I love diving, all of this stuff. And that was the signal to me to go, fuck it, I'm moving to Cayman. I started Real Vision and I started the entrepreneur's journey, and now I've got 4 companies and I'm busier than I've ever been in my life. I'm very happy doing it, but it's a chapter again. And it'll give me the lifestyle ratchet, but also the intellectual ratchet that I wanted to prove to myself that I can do some of these things. The world, the entire world is 400% of GDP in debt. But we've gone so far beyond what is sensible anymore that it's become incredibly fragile. So the management of the payments of the debt and the debt itself is the number one focus of the government and the central banks. Because if it all goes to shit, it all goes to shit. Everyone's going to lose their savings, every business goes under, every government goes under, there's no payment of services, the retirees lose everything. It is unfathomable. And I know many people online talk about, yeah, we should just let it all go. They have no comprehension of what that will do in a world that's 400% in debt. It's basically a 75% wipeout of every single asset. And all the retirees and all your savings and all your pensions and everything. So what you're doing is a multi-party consensus that this is truth. Mm-hmm. So now what you've created is what a friend of mine calls the security truth machine. So at first, we all know it for Bitcoin. I can own a Bitcoin, it's proven that I own the Bitcoin. I don't need anybody to tell me that I own the Bitcoin because it's publicly acknowledgeable and verifiable on the blockchain. It's immutable, which means it can't be broken. Okay, but this is where it gets really interesting, is we've suddenly found that after the invention of the smart contract, so right now, let's say we're 2000 and...
There's a contract in here.
We've got about 6 years before everything changes. And we thought money in the bank was safe. We thought our house was safe, but none of that's true. And the moment you put your money and your savings in the bank, you don't own anything. And your future self is getting poorer by 11% every year. And that's the problem for financial security and wealth creation. But I know where the opportunities lie.
You've staked so much of your life on this. You've invested so much of your own money in it. What if you're wrong about this asset class? You couldn't have predicted Bitcoin would be so dominant 20 years ago. We couldn't have predicted even 5 years ago that AI would take hold. These things come out of nowhere and they change the paradigm. What if you're wrong?
I'm an investor, so being wrong is part of the thing. What's hard is via helping so many people at Real Vision and elsewhere, it is a weight I carry on my shoulders because I'm trying to bring as many people across the line and unfuck their future and all of these things. And I asked myself those questions and I go back to the simple thing. There is the graph of the adoption of this. And it's because wages haven't gone up. So, okay, so let's cut to somebody who's in their 30s now. Because this is the really important cohort, I think, for this. They can't afford to buy a house. If I go back to when I was 30, I bought a house in London and it was a nice place in a good area and it was 3.5 times salary. Yes, I was in finance. I was earning a high salary. You can't buy anything for 3.5 times your salary. Now that same place, if I took the same kind of young investment banker salary, is probably 8 or 10 times. So it's tripled in how expensive it is to just buy your first house. So what is a house? Firstly,
I shouldn't keep cash in my bank account.
Everybody has different needs, and I'm not saying don't wear your tin hat. And look, everything up to about 100 grand is protected. So you're okay. You're not going to lose your money that way, but you'll lose it another way. And that's the debasement of currency.
It's time to take a moment to reflect on our sponsor, Whoop's Sober October Challenge. I know thousands of you got involved in the Sober October Challenge. My inbox has been flooded with messages sharing the changes you've experienced, which is amazing. A big part of why I partner with brands like Whoop is because I believe they offer something of incredible value that I use in my own life, something that's made a transformative impact on my life, and is frankly much of the reason why I quit drinking alcohol. Challenges like these aren't just about getting you to stop drinking forever. They're about getting you the tools to have more agency over your life and to make better informed decisions with all of the information at hand.
Yeah, people watching this like, I kind of know what you're talking about. What it means is that on average, your money goes down in purchasing power versus scarce assets by 8% a year. And then you've usually got, let's say, a 3% inflation rate. You've got 11% of your money is being devalued every year. Your future self is getting poorer by 11%. Right? Remember we talked about the future self? And if you buy the S&P 500, what was it making? About 11% a year. So if you buy the S&P 500, your future self is not going to get any richer for the risk you've taken locking up your money for 10 years or 20 years.
Because of this inflation.
Because of this debasement. Now, people confuse inflation and debasement. I would call this debasement of currency. And so This is happening at 8% a year, which is why we're all feeling so fucked.